Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever found yourself doing the exact same digital chore like 100 times, or maybe you're staring at a messy pile of data wondering how on earth to organize it, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're taking a highly structured journey through three absolute pillars of Python programming. Whether you're just trying to automate a simple task or you're building a massively complex application, mastering how Python controls flow, stores data, and manipulates text is honestly non-negotiable. We're going to break down the technical mechanics of all these concepts using some really clear visual examples pulled straight from advanced programming course materials. So let's jump right in. To keep us on track, we've got a straightforward agenda. First up, we'll tackle Python loops and control. Then we'll move into managing data with lists. And finally, we'll wrap things up by manipulating strings in Python. Okay, let's dive into our very first foundational concept, Python loops and control. This is all about the power of automating repetition. At their core, loops are basically the ultimate solution to the headache of writing the exact same line of code over and over again. Instead of standard sequential programming, where one line runs right after another, repetition control structures actually allow a block of code to repeat itself. In Python, we primarily use two types of loops to pull this off, the while loop and the for loop. Oh, and you can even nest these loops inside one another, which gets really powerful. Now, if you look at the syntax of a while loop, it literally always breaks down into three very manageable pieces. First, you need an initial expression. This is just setting a starting variable, something like number equals 1. Second, you need a condition. This is the test that actually keeps the loop running, like while number is less than or equal to 10. And third, you absolutely need an update expression, say number equals number plus 1. Without that update, your loop would literally run forever, and trust me, nobody wants an infinite loop crashing their program. Visually, you can think of the code flowing right from the top down. After that initialization step, the program continuously checks if the condition, which you can picture right there in the middle, is true, before it dives into the main body of the loop. Once the update expression eventually causes that condition to evaluate to false, boom, the flow breaks out and exits to the end of the loop. Now, when you're using a for loop, the range function is absolutely your best friend. See, while loops check a condition, for loops iterate over a specific sequence. The range function gives you start, stop, and step parameters, giving you surgical precision over exactly how that loop behaves. For example, if you run range 10, 0, -1, it's going to start at 10 and step backwards by -1, stopping just before it hits 0. It is incredibly powerful for iterating through your data backwards. So, to avoid any confusion, here's exactly how you choose the right tool for the job. Use a while loop for indefinite repetition. Like if you're waiting for a user to enter a specific password. You have no idea how many tries it'll take them, right? So a while loop is perfect there. On the flip side, a for loop is your best bet when you know your exact boundaries. Like if you need to iterate exactly 5 times or go through every single item in a predetermined sequence. All right, let's move right along to our second big topic, managing data with lists. This is where we see exactly how Python handles collections of information. Think of a list as a highly organized, totally changeable container. You create it using square brackets, and the really cool thing is it can hold literally anything. A sequence of numbers, strings, or even a crazy mix of different data types, like a number right next to a Boolean right next to some text. Because lists are ordered, you can always access the very first element using index 0, and actually, you can grab the last element with index -1. And crucially, lists allow duplicate values, so if you want the number 5 in there twice, no problem at all. When it comes to modifying all that stored data, you really need to grab the right built-in method from your toolbox. Need to tack something onto the very end? Just use append. Need it in a specific spot? Insert is definitely your go-to. Now, for removing items, pop will take off the last element. But if you use remove, it will actually hunt down a specific value and delete it. And of course, sort does exactly what it sounds like. It organizes your list right in place. Okay, let's pause for a quick knowledge check straight from the course materials. Do you know which Python method targets and removes a specific value from a list rather than just targeting an index? Well, based on the tools we literally just covered, if you guessed C, remove, you are absolutely correct. Remember, pop removes based on the position at the end of the list, whereas remove targets the actual data value that you specify. Finally, we've reached our third topic. We're scaling down from big collections to look at some granular text manipulation with Python strings. Simply put, a string is text. It's a consecutive sequence of characters, like hello students, enclosed in single or double quotes. Keep in mind, Python doesn't actually have a single character data type. Even just a single letter like A is treated as a string of length 1. But here is the most important quirk, and we really need to clarify this right away. Unlike our lists, strings are completely immutable. Let's completely demystify this jargon, because honestly, it trips up a lot of beginners. Mutable simply means changeable, just like our lists. You can target index 2 in a list and easily swap out the value. But immutable means it's locked in place, exactly like our strings. If you have the string student and you try to assign the letter P to index 3 to change it, Python is going to throw a type error right in your face. The content of a string absolutely cannot be changed in place after it's been created. You literally have to create a whole new string instead. Now, even though strings are immutable, we can still perform some seriously powerful operations on them to evaluate, join, or multiply text. The plus operator handles concatenation, effortlessly fusing strings together. The asterisk handles replication, so multiplying a string by 3 just repeats it 3 times. We can also use in or not in to check for membership. Like you can ask the program if the letter H is in the word hello. And we can even use standard comparison operators to see if one string evaluates as greater than or equal to another, purely based on alphabetical ordering. Look closely at how strings are structured. Every single character has an exact numerical address, which lets us traverse it forwards or backwards. Take the word tower. The capital T is at positive index 0, the O is at 1, and so on. But Python is awesome and gives us negative indexing from the right side too. That R at the end, that's at index -1, the E is at -2, and it just scales backward. This is an absolute lifesaver when you need the last character of a string, but you have no idea exactly how long that string is. By slicing parameters into brackets, we can extract exact substrings. It essentially acts like a scalpel for our text data. The syntax works by giving a start index, an end index, and a step, all separated by colons. Say you provide a step of 2, you'll extract every alternate character. And here is a fantastic pro tip straight from the docs. If you leave the start and end blank and use a step of -1, so that's bracket, colon, colon, -1, it instantly returns the entire string in reverse order. How cool is that? And just like lists, strings have their own table of incredibly useful methods that can instantly format, clean, or even convert text right into a list. For instance, split is phenomenal. By default, it looks for spaces and breaks a whole sentence into a list of individual words. Then you have strip, which cleans up messy data by removing accidental blank spaces at the start or end. And methods like alpha let you programmatically check if your text contains only letters. It returns true or false, which is honestly perfect for validating user input inside a while loop. So now that you understand all the underlying mechanics, I want to leave you with this coding puzzle. How might you combine a for loop, a lists append method, and string slicing to process and reverse a whole database of usernames? Think about it. You could use a for loop to iterate through a messy list of names, use string slicing to reverse or clean up the text, and then use the lists append method to store those perfect results into a brand new list. The possibilities really truly open up when these 3 foundational concepts click together. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep practicing these fundamentals.